high level of interest. So very quickly, I've got about 2 minutes of business, and then I'm going to hand things over to our host. My name is Richard Joy. I'm the Executive Director of ULI Toronto. This is really, I think, ULI at its best, creating maximum dialogue between the private sector and the public sector. And so we're really delighted to have this opportunity for the city to speak to what clearly is a policy movement of great interest to the development sector. So just delighted to have this moment happen. Very quickly, a land acknowledgement, and I'm supposed to be changing the slides, so let me do that. I'm not going to read these words directly, as we increasingly do not, because we really want to speak to the meaning behind these words. And I just, if you don't know, ULI Toronto has taken the idea of truth and reconciliation at the intersection of real estate and development, which is not an easy intersection, very, very seriously. And we have for many, many years. And we've been working, as you hopefully have seen, on showcasing many educational opportunities, showcasing industry leadership around truth and reconciliation. In a recent podcast we did in September, a number of your companies were showing your truth and reconciliations plans, and an increasing number of companies are developing their own. We've had a cultural competency course offering that sold out, and we're going to do another one in the new year. And next week, we are having the second of our new series, our public officials series, that a couple of people in this room are either have spoken. Councillor Gord Perks, the chair of Planning and Housing Committee, if I got that right, was our inaugural speaker last month. Jag Sharma is going to be our speaker in January, and we're delighted that the chief of the Mississaugas of the Credit, Claire Salt, will be speaking next week at Aaron Barrels. There's still a few seats available. It's a members-only event, but if you haven't taken advantage of the opportunity to sign up for this very, I think, special occasion to meet with the new administration of Mississaugas only 1 year in, this would be a great opportunity. And these are just examples of the ways that we're putting some meaning behind truth and reconciliation, which is a very long journey, and it won't have an easy or short end. It will be something we'll be committed to for a long time, really forever. So with that, I'm going to, first of all, I should have said right off the top, just on behalf of my management committee, Salima Raji, our chair, we had past chairs here. We have Michelle Ackerman as our most immediate past chair. Many of the people in the room are on our management committee, including our next speaker, who's our host as well, wearing two hats, Casey Gallagher, who's going to introduce the mayor. Casey.
We don't normally get an applause, so thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you, Richard. This morning's turnout is nothing short of outstanding. It is a clear reflection of our industry's excitement about Toronto and our eagerness to address housing affordability. Organizationally, CBRE and ULI have shared a shared goal of facilitating collaborative outcomes in real estate. And in this spirit of continued collaboration, we are very excited to host Mayor Chow and her team. Mayor Chow, over to you.
Thank you. I'll just stand here if that's okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Wonderful to see all of you here bright and early. Richard and UDI, thank you for hosting us. It was a short notice because we just launched the program and here we are. In fact, it just went through the executive committee yesterday afternoon, and wow, okay. Thank you to CBRE for hosting us. You build our city. You as builders, you make our city work. You are the hope of many people living in this city and immigrants flooding into Toronto. My dad came to Canada when he was 70. I'm sorry, 1970. No, he wasn't 70. He was a lot younger. I was teenager. And it was hard, but at the time, St. Jamestown apartment was the thing to do, right? Upwardly mobile, 1971. So we go and rented a place in St. Jamestown, I think. Well, later on, it was Medallion, all right? I think Medallion might be here. And new immigrant story, hard. He couldn't find a job. He spoke fluent English. He had a university degree, teaching degree recognized, but there wasn't enough jobs for teachers for one. I don't know why they wanted the immigrants to come to Canada and teach, but long story short, he couldn't find a job. We got a mental health breakdown. He couldn't work. Through the years, it was difficult for him to live in that apartment. Difficult for the family. And then when I moved out, mom moved out, he stayed. Okay? And because he had mental health illness, he likes to feed the pigeons. What does that mean? In the veranda, in the balcony, the pigeons go downstairs and create a total mess. Why am I telling you the story? Because the relationship that he and I had established with Medallion was amazing. The woman, I forgot her name, knew my dad and said, okay, because I was paying the rent, and said, okay, we'll figure something out. We clean it up. I persuaded him to not feed the pigeon, not try to breed the pigeon, and until he turned 80 something, when he had to go into a nursing home, he stayed there. And that was his home. At that time in the 70s, there were a lot of rental apartments. So a new immigrant family can settle in Toronto. That is not the case right now. The rent is so expensive. We haven't built rental for so long, which is why having you here interested is exciting. And I thank you for being here. When I first got elected, July of last year, elected and became the mayor, you told me, even before the election, that Toronto is well known for something. What is it? 5 years average to get a site plan approval or get an OPA. Oh my God. It takes us longer than how many other cities across North America? Okay, this is terrible. So we said, and Jack Shammer was just coming in, we said, by gosh, we need to build faster. Well, 5 years is not faster. 1,000 days for a site plan approval is not faster. So let me tell you now, we have taken 900 days off. Now it's on average site plan 86 days instead of 1,000 days, okay, for site plan. That's worthy of celebration. I know it's early. Okay, all right. Yeah, because I'm still recovering from last night. All right. And official plan amendments, 600 days off, which is now on average 115 days versus back then 700,000 days. Okay, speed. Okay, but after, yeah, I know, that's why the white hair that you're showing, there's hardly any sleep. Right? These are the people that makes it happen. But speed is one thing. Interest rate is not something we can have anything to do with. Or the building cost, nothing we can do. Inflation, oh, it's coming down, but still. So the pipeline is stuck. You and I know we need to build housing because Toronto is a global beacon of hope. And could be even American beacon of hope, I don't know. But there are people coming to Toronto. They arrive here with immigrant dreams and they want to find a place to live. And we need to build housing, build them faster. That is our call, right? So right now the market is stuck. Everything is expensive. You and I know all that. So, okay, math is not working. The financing is not working. So some of you said, okay, development charges. You know, you've heard me. The city's $1.8 billion shortfall last year. We got the New Deal. It's still $1.2 billion shortfall. We needed the money to pay for the roads and the transit and everything. Okay, we're not getting the money now anyway, because everything is stuck. I thought, okay, yeah, all right, I can do that math. So took a deep breath. Councillor Perks and I kept thinking about this. And we said, okay, we need to exempt development charges on all new, well, whatever we can afford, new rental housing, okay? The math still doesn't work. Because we need some affordable housing, okay? Because there are people, maybe because they're sick, like my dad. Now, my mom worked, so we were okay. But hadn't been living by himself, not having a daughter paying for his rent, he would be homeless. Okay, he couldn't pay. So he needed some affordable units. Maybe 20%. Okay, all right, we'll do 20% affordable for those. The 80,000 people that are on the wait list for affordable housing in the city. You see them on the street, you see them camping, you see them in 12,000 in our shelters. It's a lot more expensive paying for shelter than actually building a home for them, okay? So we're doing our best, but still, you see them on the street and all the shelters are full. So we said, all right, 20% affordable, but the math still doesn't work. Hey, property tax, how much can we afford in terms of property tax? We're calculating, okay, so because the province gave us the power to do so, we said, all right, we will then provide all purpose-built rentals, not just the first phase, all 15% property tax reduction lasting 35 years. Okay, that's the second thing we did. And combine that, we think the math will work. In fact, these folks hire, you will explain which company you hired, to do the pro forma to say, okay, is the math working? We said, okay, the math will work, but we don't have enough money. So we said, we will go and prove to other levels of government that the math works. First, 7,000 rental units. We will approve. We're not waiting. We're not waiting. Normally, when you see a City of Toronto announcing something, we'll say, on the condition that the provincial and the federal government comes in. Well, you know, you can already tell I'm an impatient person in terms of how we sped up the approval process, right? I'm not young. You know, if I came in 1970 as a teenager, don't do the math, you know, I'm not young. So I can't go and wait for the federal and the provincial to come on side. Okay, we can afford to do 7,000 units. Not enough. We need to build a lot more. We're saying we're putting on the table 20,000 units. We'll do 20,000 units. We're ready for 20,000 units, but we need partnership. So let's get that 7,000 approved. Bang, get it done very quickly, hopefully. Yes. More white hair, thank you. It's okay. We, in fact, said the staff will approve. Don't even have to come back to council. We'll, you know, we're approving the policy. They will just go say yes, okay? Or no, yes, so they're gonna say yes. And then we're gonna say to the federal and the provincial government, come on, do this. Now, we went and spoke to the federal government. They've been waiting for something like this, or at least that's what they said to us. They gave they put out a public statement. I think some of you have seen it. Yes, okay. Very encouraging. Then I said, show me the money, but you know, very encouraging public statement. This is, I think the federal government may come on. The provincial government, we don't know. We need them to give us a rebate to support us on the DC exemption and the property tax discount as much as possible, all the way up to 100% if they can. If they give us half the money we're asking for, we'll do half the units. Whatever they give us, we will do, okay? So whatever amount, preferably all 13,000 units, but we will do what we can. So that's the partnership piece. I just want to end about, and you'll get a lot more details from Councillor Perkson and the expert here, because I'm just doing the, the overview of it. Talking about immigrant dreams. And when people are having a hard time after they pay rent, after they pay mortgage, they can't afford much. They want change. But before that, they want someone to blame. That is the politics of division, polarization. And what you see is our neighbors to the south, that people are having a hard time. If they feel that they're not getting ahead because the housing cost is so high, that immigrant dream can turn sour quite quickly. They will look for someone to blame, and it could be our neighbors. It could be the people that are like my dad coming to the new country seeking for a new life. They will feel that these are the people causing us the problem. So if we are to make and keep Toronto a global beacon of hope, of positivity, of a place where we share what we have with each other, a place where everyone belongs, life is affordable and safe and caring city. If we are to do that, we need to build a lot more housing. So my call to you is, it's in your hands. We will do what we can as a municipal government with our little tiny property tax. By the way, it's 9 cents of every dollar you pay in all the taxes. We only get Taylor Swift's come in. It's gonna be great for HST and GST and all of those other levels of government. We don't get a penny of it, not a penny. So, okay, I won't go on that tangent. But what I'm saying is, I need you in order to keep Toronto a place that's welcoming, a place where everyone feels belong. If not, then there will be division and polarization. That's not something we want to see in this beautiful city of ours. So thank you for being here, and let's continue to work together, because we're always stronger together. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, thank you to the Urban Land Institute for pulling this together and pulling it so quickly. And thank you all for being here. There are moments you're going to remember, and this is one of them. This is one of them. All of you know that without the building industry in Toronto, the economy stops. I have very, very clear memories of the last time this happened in the early 90s. I remember unemployment rates in the trades of 50 and 60%. I remember people defaulting on their mortgages. I remember the economy of Toronto seizing up. And what we are doing here today is making a choice about whether that's going to happen again or not. That's very simply the choice in front of us. The city of Toronto by itself cannot solve that problem. We can only solve it in partnership with 3 important stakeholders. Federal government has given an encouraging sign. We haven't heard from the province yet, but the other stakeholder is you. This program may or may not be exactly what you're hoping it would be. We don't have time to sit and debate its finer points. We just have to go. So I'm going to ask 3 things of you. The first thing I'm going to ask is figure out how you can participate. The second thing I'm going to ask of you is, in your conversations with the federal and provincial government, tell them that if Toronto doesn't keep building, the economic engine of Canada seizes, and you need them to get in on this program. The third thing I'm going to ask you to do is to listen to some very, very smart people. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce Jag Sharma, who is the Deputy City Manager for Development and Growth, and the team he's brought with him today, Valessa, Abby, and Lauren, who are three of the smartest people in the Toronto Public Service, making them three of the smartest people in the world. And they're going to walk you through the program that we have got here. This first phase, I call our proof of concept. This is the city of Toronto saying we have limited resources, but we're going to prove that if governments and the construction and development industries get together, we can keep the economic engine of Canada roaring ahead. We can house people, and we can prove to the federal and provincial governments that they have to come in as partners. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jack.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and I'll be brief. And going after the mayor and councillor, it's always interesting to say they beat me to a lot of it. So they've already said a lot of what I wanted to say, which is thank you. Of course, Richard and Jen, thank you for the idea. And Casey, thank you, of course, for the space for us to host the event. And thank you to you. And I'm going to say thank you in advance because Councillor Perks said it, where we are going to need your partnership as we move forward. So the mayor and councillor have already outlined that this is an approach where the first 7,000 units are going to be a quick start. And the next phase of this, the 13,000 units, is where we're going to need partnership and support from other levels of government. So I'm going to thank you in advance because we're going to be looking for that continued work with you. Dave Wilkes and others are always in conversation with us, and he debuted yesterday on the report, and we're going to continue to work with him through this process. I do want to introduce, of course, Abby Bond. She's going to be taking us through the presentation. After the presentation, we'll be taking questions and answers. We also have Valessa Feria with us, who is our Executive Director of Development Review, and Lauren is with us in place of Steve. And she's going to be here in case there's any questions about the math and how we came up with the incentives that we have outlined. So I'm going to hand it over to Abby to take us through, and then we'll all be available here to answer any questions. So thank you, folks.
All right, good morning. Morning, everyone. I was just getting public speaking coaching tips from the mayor, which is the highlight now of my career. Yes. I am very pleased to be with you this morning to take you through some slides, and I'm going to whiz through a few of them because I know people have questions. We're all here because we know that we're facing two housing crises. Average people in our city, key workers, people that we work with, people in our organizations and companies are struggling to find and keep housing in Toronto. We've seen this getting worse despite increased action from multiple levels of government. Certainly the last 18 months have been challenging from being able to make projects work in the city, from interest rates, construction costs, and we're seeing now that that really is having an impact on housing starts. We're seeing that really decline in the last number of months, and yet the demand is high and will continue to grow. We're going to see 41% increase in renter households in the GTA by 2031, and that's not very far away. So that's a 40% increase in renter households. So we need to build more housing, and we need to also build different types of housing. So this chart is stark. What it means is basically that 90% of our purpose-built rental was built before 1980. What we've been building in the last number of years is rental housing delivered via condominium. It's an important part of our rental market. It does not provide the same kind of stability or rent that purpose-built rental is able to deliver. And so we're trying to make a choice here today. We talked about choices already, to try and incentivize a different type of rental in the city that is more meaningful for households and families who want to stay here, build their family here, have a long-term life here. So recent action, be super quick here. We have trying to lead through the development of public land, a public developer approach on 5 sites, 2 of which will be breaking ground this year. In June of this year, we relaunched our rental housing supply program with a different suite of funding and incentives for housing across the whole continuum: rent geared to income, affordable housing, and rent controlled homes. We invested about 351 million into 18 projects and are anticipating 2,600 new RGI and affordable homes as a result, with about just under 4,000 rent-controlled homes. We relaunched a community housing pre-development fund to support nonprofits in the first part of imagining a new housing development, in the part of the project where they are struggling to find money to pay for architects, to pay for consultants, to make their projects real and get them going. So we've created a loan fund to try and support them to do that. And you will see coming to council a new rent evictions bylaw, which is trying to stabilize and support renters to keep housing and therefore keep units and homes in our city more affordable and reduce turnover. We have done some consultations. We were asked by council to go and speak with rental developers, condominium developers, nonprofit developers about what options there might be to support more purpose-built rental housing in our city, and also consider the role of other governments. So we did that. We've met with rental developers, we've met with Build, we've met with CMHC over this summertime period, August to October, and we heard a lot about what is preventing us from building housing. We heard that condominium development needs DC waivers. We heard that rental development needs DC plus property tax for a minimum period of 20 years. We heard that the development community feel or told us in part that it wouldn't be possible to deliver any other affordability constraints. So this is what we heard. We also retained MBLC to help us look at financial viability. And we know that there's a lot that goes into development. When you bought the land, how much you paid for the land, what yield your investors are expecting. So we tried to look at all of those different aspects of what makes a rental project viable. And when we looked at this, we also obviously are thinking about the 40% increase in renters. We're thinking about the people on our wait list. We're thinking about people who need affordable housing. And when we stack all governments coming together, especially around things like low-cost financing, and when we looked at the exemptions or of development fees and charges for affordable and purpose-built rental homes, we discovered that there is a possibility, there's a road to viability for projects delivering 20% affordable housing along with purpose-built rental. That may not work for every project, but there is a significant chunk of projects that we think can make this work. So our report that is going to council next week recommends a new tri-government approach around purpose-built rental incentives. We want to deliver 20,000 homes, as we've heard, including 16,000 purpose-built rental and around 4,000 affordable homes. As we've heard, there is going to be a new multi-residential property tax subclass with a 15% reduction for property taxes for all new purpose-built rental. The tax class is not just available for the quick starts and the 20,000, it's for all new purpose-built rental. We're going to lead by proving the concept. We're going to try and do 7,000 homes, including 1,400 affordable rental homes and 5,600 purpose-built homes. This means that the city is planning to waive or forego an additional $325 million in value of those new incentives, along with including the value of the DCs and the 15% property tax reduction. So that's on top of all of the fees and waivers that we already provide for affordable rental. That is just the value for the purpose-built rental homes. So this is what the breakdown looks like between phase 1 and phase 2. So you can see how that will work to activate the 20,000 in total. So for phase 1, this is our immediate focus. We're providing our full package or continuing to provide a full package of incentives for any affordable home delivered as part of that 20%. And then the new piece that we're adding is for anything that's purpose-built rental, we will indefinitely defer development charges, and also you will be eligible for a 15% property tax reduction for 35 years. Phase 2 gets a little bit more interesting. Assuming we can prove the concept, which we think we can, we are then coming back to say, okay, there's more affordable homes that we would like to do. Again, we will continue to apply our incentive package for those. We will also consider capital grants as well. We have a rental housing supply program being released in the next couple of weeks, which will invite grant applications for affordable homes. But in order to continue to provide that DC rebate and a full property tax, we need provincial help. And so we're making a very specific ask for this phase 2 related to the rebate for the DCs. And if the province wants the additional 85% to make 100% property tax reduction for that full period of time. And we've done the math for them. That's included in the report. So lastly, what I'm hoping you're also really here to hear about is, okay, so I might have a project that works, what do I do? So, subject to council approval, none of this is in effect yet and won't be until after council considers it next week. So we have eligibility, so minimum project requirements. So to be eligible for this program, we're saying that any sector is eligible to apply. At least 20% of the units must be affordable rental and meet the city requirements for those units, which will be on the next slide. We have done this to align with other government programs that are in effect now. And I see some of you taking photographs. I believe this is going to be on the website as well immediately following. We will be circulating it. So by all means, take photographs. But I just want everyone to know that you can get this slide deck. The development should be in pre-construction, have not yet paid DCs, and we're looking for construction start. We're looking for kind of a realistic milestone and timeline that shows that you can get to the first building permit by the end of 2026. So we're looking for things which are ready to go, ideally shovel ready. And of course, you must be willing to enter and secure the purpose-built rental and the affordable in agreements with the city, securing the value of the incentives and the rental tenure. In terms of, for those of you who are not familiar with our affordable housing requirements, 20% of the homes rents are on the right-hand side of the chart here, are also available on our website. We really want to secure these homes for 99 years. All of these homes are capped at the provincial guideline increases over time for existing tenants, and again must be secured on title. They should meet other city requirements in terms of size, unit mix, accessibility, energy efficiency, etc. So the application process, again, something I hope you're interested in, is immediately following council approval, the rental housing supply program call for applications will open. Applications for funding for eligible RGI and affordable homes, and a rolling application for incentives for affordable rental, rent control, and purpose-built rental homes. This will be the email that we're going to use to take in applications, and complete applications will be reviewed for eligibility, and eligible projects will be approved on a first come, first served basis for this program. I will highlight, as you know, and my colleague Valessa Faria in Development Review, complete applications enable us to go faster. And you will know this from submitting for development and approval. So I would encourage you to think about this as well. What I would just say is we are aware we've not excluded applications to either a certain type of sector. So we're aware that there may be in-flight projects on city-owned or city-controlled land. They're also eligible to apply. But remember, the city is putting a lot of investment into projects on its own land over and above any other type of program. So these applications will require an additional open book and third-party financial review, including considerations of all the existing benefits that the city may already be putting into those sites. So what will we need in the application? And I will say that it's our intention to get some more information on our website in advance of the council approval, and also to start building this out in more detail. So we'll need a cover letter from you, which is basically saying that you will agree to the terms of this program. It's super simple. We might even put a draft on the website for you. Basic proponent information. What experience do you have securing financing from organizations that provide financing for affordable housing, like CMHC? Some people may have frequent builder status, for example. We want information about the land ownership, some development stats, so project size, the mix between residential and non-residential, mix of units, all the things that you might expect, and all of the information that you likely have at your fingertips. Some other aspects, some information about your development financials, assumed market and affordable rents, some hard and soft costs, construction financing data, rate and permanent loan financing information, land costs, operating costs, and others. The reason we're looking for this, we will not be doing a deep dive on every project around the financial review. We're looking to make sure that this information is what I would say within industry norms. That is what our MBLC, who we've retained to assist us in this part of the program, will be looking for, unless you're on city land, in which case there will be a more detailed review. We're looking for, importantly, you to share with us a development schedule that will outline key planning and building approval milestones, financing milestones, and the ability to really start construction by the end of 2026. And any other project information that you think is going to be important, such as partnership with other orders of government that you already have. Okay, this is a very long email address. It's a link in the slide deck, and we're working on a short URL. We just didn't have time for it today, so that is why you have the full. This is a very live development of a program. We will be ready by the time council approves it. And thank you very much for your time this morning. We're here for questions.
So folks, questions?
How's it going with Ottawa?
We have people online just so.
Sorry for the online people. How's it going with your discussions in Ottawa? I'm sure all of us in this room will be happy to get 5 plane tickets and get you on a Porter flight to get you down there. Because one thing we're worried about is the support for the, CMHC, ACLP and other loan programs, without which it's difficult to make this work. That said, provided that Ottawa's there and ready to fund projects in 2025, I don't think, I think a lot of this will work for many of the people in this room on the first phase of 7,000 units. But without that, today they say, we have no money. Could you think about 26 or 27? So it's hard to kind of get moving.
They're no longer saying that.
Jeff Thomas from Kingside
Yeah.
Capital.
They're no longer saying that because we know they have exhausted the allocation almost. The letter that we received yesterday, we've had conversation with the minister's office. They know this is coming. They welcome it. We can absolutely send you the public statement they put out. It's incredibly welcome, positive, and Jen can maybe even pull it up for you, and I could read it to you. You don't have it ready, okay? My chief of staff has it, and it's a public statement. We haven't go to town with it, but they are even offering other programs other than the loan guarantee one that it might unlock the infrastructure funds, etc. So we'll see. Always the devil's in the details. So we'll give you more update. I'll get a copy of that letter and I might be able to answer the question fully later.
Can I just quickly add that the program is, as you've seen, structured to try and engage the federal government to bring low-cost financing, but it's also one of the reasons why, because we weren't sure about the timing, that we were looking for construction start by the end of 2026, because we weren't entirely sure where we would stand with regard to 2025 money. Very heartening to see that hopefully this is opening that conversation to try and move that forward. But we originally were thinking we would look for construction start by the end of 2025, and 2026 felt more achievable, partly because of the uncertainty at the federal level.
And the only thing I'll add is that we are consistently having discussions with the other levels of government and sharing with them the stock of prioritized development projects that we have available, whether it be the 18, and I'm sure we're going to hear about many more as this program unfolds. So we're speaking to them regularly and keeping them informed about the prioritized projects that we have.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions? Somebody's got a question. All right.
Have you given any thought to streamlining the process? Like, it seems like you've got an application process, for if you meet the requirements, you get the benefits, which would also, as we mentioned, you really need federal support. Is there an easier way to do this to remove some red tape and make it go faster?
And sorry, we can, I'll turn it over to Abby in just a second. This is moving pretty ambitiously, and so we're trying to, I'll say, build the plane while we're flying it, and we're moving as quickly as we can. As far as streamlining opportunities, we will look to see, especially as part of phase 2. But once again, I think what we're trying to do is move quickly for the proof of concept. And then as we are proving it out, then we can look for enhancement opportunities.
Yeah, I would just add that one of the things that we're thinking about, and we'll just want to get agreement with CMHC, is that when you put in your letter to us, if you are in discussions with CMHC about financing, that you give us your consent to share and have dialogue with CMHC directly. That is often one of the issues that we face, is that agreement from proponents to actually talk directly with them about a particular project and a particular organization. So we'll likely look for consent for that. That will certainly help with the discussion around project viability.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the optimism on a gloomy morning. Appreciate it. Really exciting news. Question on the grants for the affordable side. How are you going to score? The way I read it is it's up to 260,000 per unit, but how are you going to score that in such a short amount of time?
Okay, so I should clarify that there are multiple processes happening at the same time. So for the purpose-built rental incentives that we've largely discussed today, that is going to be a first come first served process, open immediately. Alongside that, we will also be opening up the rolling incentives that we offer for affordable housing, and also the grant process that we offer for affordable housing, which is up to 260,000 per unit. The grant process will not be a first come first served process where we will score not just eligibility, but we will prioritize projects based on what it is you're offering to us. So there will be separate but aligned processes for grants versus incentives. And likely we will need more time on the grant piece as well. So that we've tried to align them as best we can. We've done things like we're proposing to change in our project, in our information in June for incentives for affordable housing. We were at 30% of GFA required to be eligible for the incentives. In order to streamline this and make it more likely that people can get low-cost financing, we've targeted 20% of the units to be affordable. That will unlock your ability to get both the purpose-built rental incentives and the affordable incentives. And hopefully that is also the threshold that CMHC have for many of their programs. So we've done some things in addition to the new money to try and make it more likely that you can access multiple benefits from different levels of government. But in the short term, we think that projects can make this, there may be projects that can make this work without the grants on the affordable housing.
I'll go behind me in 1 second, but I have an online question. How will the qualification work for the new multi-residential property tax subclass? What stage does the project need to be at to qualify?
Thank you. So the new multi-residential property tax subclass will be in effect as soon as council considers the bylaw. If your property is typically classified as a new multi-residential property in that class, you will automatically be in that subclass. And it's at the time of the conversion to multi-residential or your first permit. Okay, so if you have not had a permit issued yet, after the bylaw is in effect, hopefully as of next week, you would be automatically included in that subclass going forward.
In terms of this incentives, did you guys explore section 37 CBC or even cash in lieu as additional incentives for buildings that could be shovel ready?
Yes, the short answer is yes. We considered all the costs that the developer typically faces, including the community benefits charges, power plan funds. We feel that, as the mayor announced at the beginning, like the city can only afford so much. And so we're trying to do the best we can right now. That to us looks like we can absorb the impacts of the development charge value. But we are, over the long term considering, what that actually looks like. So yes, we did consider it, but at this time, the DCs is what's being recommended.
And just as another small follow-up question is, in terms of the units, are you expecting them to be contiguous or can they just be spread throughout the building?
Sorry, can you repeat that question, please?
Are you expecting the units to be contiguous or can they be spread out throughout the building in terms of the affordability?
Okay, so you mean the affordable housing units can be spread out? Yes.
Hi, apologies if this information is already public, but I was wondering if the city has any plans to let the development community behind the curtain, so to speak, and understand what assumptions were made insofar as hard costs are concerned, financing, et cetera, to come to the conclusion that this was financially viable.
So as far as the peek behind the curtains, what we can share with you is that we have been working with the industry in order to look at the assumptions that we are putting into the calculations, and we've been using the third party NBLC in order to validate the numbers, and we'll continue to use the external consultant to validate the assumptions that we're applying.
Yeah, and in our staff report that went to executive committee yesterday and council next week, there is some information about what we assumed from like a current value assessment of a unit, as well as some assumptions around development charges and things like that. So.
Lots of questions.
Hi, thank you all for joining us today. And I do want to just comment on, this is probably the first time that we've been able to have a conversation with so many senior people from the city about really important issues. So thank you to ULI for pulling this together, and thank you all for being here. Everybody is really appreciative, I think, of the fact that all three levels of government are now recognizing the magnitude of the housing crisis that we have and making efforts to come to the table. One of the things I want to ask about is something that is addressed in your staff report and some of your comments here, which is that the crisis is being felt across the board in the development industry. So there are a lot of projects, condo projects in particular, beyond purpose-built rental, that are on the verge of feasibility and would require incentives to proceed. I'm wondering if you can comment on further on the extent to which that was reviewed, including what you may have been discussing in your conversations with other levels of government with respect to financial incentives. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and I'll start by saying that.
Okay, you're gonna do just Renee.
Sorry, yes, I'm Renee Gomes from Diamond Corp.
Thank you for the question once again. And so in our discussions with industry, we did look across the board, but we had to pick a place to start. And as Ms. Bond has indicated, this is where we are falling very short. So the Quick Start program and our initial focus is on purpose-built rental. We have once again considered the other requests as well. But as well as Mayor Chow had indicated, our financial ability is limited. And so what we need to do is ensure that we have partnership if we are going to go further in what that's going to look like.
Hi, Jared Friedman from Osmond Zajrowski. Thanks so much for coming in this morning. I thought one of the best lines of the report was that this Quick Start was geared towards incentivizing private landowners in order to build new purpose-built rental as well as affordable rental. And to that end, my question is, as part of this Quick Start 7,000 unit allocation, does the city intend for city projects to apply to that stream out of the gate? understanding that it's a first come, first served basis, and particularly for private landowners and developers, if we're to orient towards this plan, we might be a step behind in the process.
That is one of the reasons why we've indicated a more fulsome review around city projects. So we're trying to move quickly, and as you correctly point out, our priority here is private lands coming to the table. However, we also have a number of in-flight projects on city land that have also hit issues, financial viability issues, during the same period of time. So we didn't want to exclude anyone at this stage around the quick starts, because collecting information in this first period of time is going to be very important for us in shaping phase two. But we've clearly stated that the priority will be private lands, and that first come, first served. It may be that it takes us more time to do the financial review on city land that we need to do. And that we're reporting back quickly, even though we're making decisions quickly at a staff level, ideally, we're reporting back directly to council in December. And we will be sharing the results of that, including which city land projects came forward and requested funding. But again, we will be looking, this is about an incentivization program for largely the private sector, but also the nonprofit sector as well. If this is something that you're already, many of you are in partnerships across sectors already, not just with the city, but with other organizations. So this is a proof of concept. So we have tried to frame it as best we can, but the phase one will be an important learning opportunity for us.
Any more questions? I should also acknowledge that Vic Gupta, CEO of Creatio, is here as well. Any more questions? I know, Jeff, you've got a third question, but let me go to the first one first. And say your name again.
Thank you. My name is Chris Ori with Concert Properties. I'm curious to know what the timeline is from submission of a detailed application to approval and contribution agreement.
Well, those are two different milestones. I'll start with approval first. We intend to be very fast. This program has been put together very quickly. We're on an accelerated timeline to council. If projects provide us complete information, and we will be building out more detail on the kinds of information that we want and putting that on our website in advance of the council approval, so that you could be thinking about putting that together if you're interested. We anticipate being able to make decisions following council approval very quickly, within days and weeks. If you provide us all of the information that we need, we want to move very, very fast indeed. And that is why it's delegated, and we are not bringing back the results for the next council cycles, because we realize that time is of the essence for many projects. Contribution agreements, again, will be asking you to kind of commit to willing to secure the affordable housing and the purpose-built rental. And the contribution agreement may take a little longer, but you will at least have a letter from the city, potentially with an approval in principle, that you can take forward and use in your discussions with financing organizations, that your DCs will be indefinitely deferred. And then we can work on the contribution agreement together. Okay.
Hi, I'm Korosh from Gravitt Group. And the question is, in addition to these incentives, will there be relief on planning regulations that limit density for private sites?
Good morning. Thank you for the question. As Abby mentioned in her presentation, we are looking at projects that can start construction by end of 2026. So these would be projects that are well along in the planning process. So projects that are close to zoning, projects that are close to site plan, and close to getting building permits. In terms of your question about density specifically, these projects will be looked at within the existing planning context and framework, as they've typically been done.
Okay, I think we have time for maybe one or two questions, but so if you can make it real quick.
Thank you so much, Igor Dragovich from Concert Properties. Thank you, Abby. You mentioned that the private sector will be prioritized in this first round. Could by any chance any of the Housing Now sites qualify for this and take precedence? Just out of curiosity. Thank you.
So Housing Now is, for those who don't know, Housing Now is a program for city land. And so when we refer to in-flight projects on city land, it includes things like Housing Now sites. As I said before, the city is putting a lot of investment into those sites already, including often below market land, not in all cases, but in many cases, below market land, grants, lots of other incentives. Primarily, this is for private organizations on their own land. This is one of the missing pieces that we see where we want to harness the expertise and drive of the private sector. So we will be doing a much more detailed review on city land, and we may bring back different recommendations to council in December regarding those projects. But we will need an open book third-party review, as opposed to what we're doing largely, which is using MBLC to check that projects are within industry norms. That's not a full open book third-party review. Did that help?
I'm gonna squeeze one more question in. I'm just going by the hands I saw, sorry.
Thank you. This is Hugo Bizarre from Case of You. I have a quick question. I think it's a great program, but is there a cap on how many, if a cap on a developer on how many units he gets in the program?
No.
Follow up. So if I put some, if I'm the first guy putting in 7,000 units, do I get all 7,000 units?
So one of the things we'll be doing is making sure that an application comes in per project, right? And so you'll be wanting to do that. I think making sure that you submit, however, if you've got 7,000 projects and you're first in the door, then great, good luck to you. And I'm sure you'll be advocating strongly for phase 2 because you might have more than that. We're not anticipating that, but however, we would encourage, we know that there are projects during the consultation, actually, process, many people said, actually, I might have a project that works, or I might have a project that works. So we anticipate being able to get to that 7,000 very quickly, which is why we're already signaling phase 2.
Okay, I think that unless there's any more comments, does anybody else on the city side want to add any round off? Okay. I realize there's more questions and that was almost guaranteed that we'd have time to answer. So thank you for a lot of interest. I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't plugging very quickly some other ULI upcoming events, because there's always upcoming events that ULI, your inbox will attest to. But a couple of things I might want to just point out. There is on National Housing Week, 5-part webinar series for the price of one webinar registration. It's a good deal. That's coming up the week of November 18th. And that very week as well, there's a dinner that EY is hosting with senior federal officials who might have something to say about this, both from CMHC and the Canada Lands Company. So if those two things might be of interest in the housing space, registrations are open and we're looking forward to seeing you at those as well. But with that, I'm going to tie things off again on behalf of the Management Committee and ULI Toronto. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor Chow, Councillor Burks, city staff for doing this. This is